Our commitment to life originates from that basic doctrine of equality of all of us. And so we go looking for the 12-year-old Boy Scout lost in the woods of North Carolina. We care when 6 coal miners in Huntington, Utah are swallowed up by the earth in the coal mine. It's not because they're members of our family. It's because we care about them, because they're fellow human beings, and we believe that they have worth and value. Not because of their last names or their jobs and where they went to school or who their dads were, because we want to treat them like we would want to be treated if we were lost in the coal mine. It's that simple. Now, folks, if this country doesn't understand the value of a human life from the time it is conceived to the time that it has its natural death, then we lose something that politics can't fix. I'm the only candidate in this race left who wants to do more than simply appoint judges to overturn Roe Wade. That's fine, but that's not enough, and let me tell you why. The overturning of Roe v. Wade only means that the states then would decide how to deal with the definition of human life. Now, the problem with that is that, well, in my state, we've already decided, I helped pass a constitutional amendment that says life begins at conception and we protect it until natural conclusion. But in another state, they might decide that any time, any place, any one individual can end another person's human life. Let me tell you what's wrong with that. That is the logic of the Civil War. It's the logic that says that we can have different sets of law as it relates to a moral issue based on geography. We've already settled the fact that no human being can own another human being. Slavery, we all would agree, is morally wrong. It's not politics. It's morality that makes that wrong. And folks, if this country does not understand that taking an innocent human life, whether it's the life of an unborn child, whether it's the life of a terminally ill patient, whether it's the life of someone who is disabled, remember that once we've decided that it's okay to move the lines, and we move it to the unborn, and then we move it to the terminally ill, then we move it to the elderly, and then we move it to the disabled, then one day somebody might move it toward you. And that's why this is an issue that ought to unite us, not just because we're people of faith. Because I believe you don't even have to be a person of faith to see that the logical conclusion of being wrong on this issue takes us from the very heart of who we are as a nation. I'm the only candidate left in this race who says, not just I would support a human life amendment, I would lead to have a human life amendment to the United States Constitution. And I'm the only candidate left who believes that our government cannot be any stronger than the families which comprise it, and that we cannot change the definitions of family and marriage, and that's why I would also lead, as President of the United States, a federal marriage amendment that affirms that marriage still means one man, one woman, relationship for life. I'm the only candidate left in this race who believes that the tax code is choking the life out of many small business operators, and that we need more than a twist of the screwdriver and a tap of the hammer to fix it. Now, in your neighboring state where I come from, we have a saying in Arkansas that if you can't fix it with WD-40 and duct tape, then partner, it can't be fixed. Let me tell you something. We can't fix the 67,000 pages of Internal Revenue tax code if we had a whole bunch of WD-40 and duct tape. It's beyond repair. Many small business owners today struggle to stay in business because they spend more time filling out paperwork for their own government than they get to spend taking care of their customers. It's no small wonder that a lot of our jobs have gone to China and elsewhere, because we have people who are competing not just against the Chinese, they're competing against their own government, finding it incredibly hard to stay in business. I say let's kill the IRS before it kills the last American business. Imagine what would happen if we replaced our current tax code, which penalizes productivity, and instead replaced it with a fair tax, which means everybody would be a part of the economy. Every illegal person, every drug dealer, every prostitute, every pimp, every gambler. You know, the folks you sit in church with every Sunday, those folks. Your pastor doesn't care as long as they tithe. But you know what? Most of them aren't paying the same tax as you are, so you're paying yours and theirs. Under the fair tax, everybody pays the same at the consumption level. But here's why that's important. Folks, right now, we've got to recognize it's common sense. What you reward, you get more of. What you penalize, you get less of. Now, our tax system penalizes work and productivity, because if you work one shift, there's a certain tax rate. If you work two shifts, you're in a new tax bracket, and the government gets most of what you worked for the second shift. So you're penalized for working harder. Guess what happens when you penalize something? You get less of it. So we end up finding that it's less advantageous to work harder. In fact, the harder you work, the more the government wants out of you. Now, by the way, if you work two shifts, you're in a different tax bracket. If you save the money, we tax the savings. If you invest it, we tax the dividends. If you buy and sell something, we tax the capital gain. By the way, if you die, we tax your death. I mean, we get you every which way. But here's a way we can fix it. Oh, by the way, if you want to not be under that experience and you would like the government to help you, stay home and watch ESPN all day. Then you can get a government subsidy, because that's the way the system works. Now, nobody can look me in the eye and tell me that makes sense. But folks, that's where we're going to be headed if we don't have conservative principles governing our economy. And I know there's some wonderful rhetoric floating out there from Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, but you need to ask yourself, do you want your taxes to go up or to go down? Do you want us to protect life or disregard human life? Do you want us to have a strong military, or do you want to drop the guns and run for your lives? My friends, I believe that we ought to be on the offense, not the defense, when it comes to terror. I believe mothers and fathers raise better kids than governments ever will. Government ought to get out the backs of parents. I am convinced that the best government is the most local government. We don't need Washington telling everybody in Texas how to live. Let Texas decide those things for themselves. And the fact is, there's one candidate in this race who's actually run a government and been the chief executive, and that would be me. And if you think Washington has the answers, you've got a whole bunch of people who all have Washington addresses who would like to be your president. But if you're not satisfied with what they've done to fix America's problems, if you're convinced they haven't yet fixed the health care problem, the education issue, the infrastructure and transportation issue, made us safer, secured our borders, lowered our taxes, controlled our spending, done more to protect human life and more to protect the traditional role of marriage, then why on earth would you select one of them to be your president? That's why I've got a lot of confidence in the people of Texas, because between now and March the 4th, I believe the people of Texas are going to say to the rest of America, you thought you knew what you were buying, but in Texas we make our own decisions. We are proud people and we're loud people, and we're going to make a loud and proud statement March the 4th.